You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into this conversation now, and we continue with our build-up to the much-awaited State of the Nation address tomorrow. Parliament saying a little earlier today that it is all systems go. They are ready to roll out the red carpet for politicians and dignitaries for the President's speech tomorrow. Parliament's Secretary Xolile George joins us from Cape Town this evening. Mr. George, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. I'm going to start on a somber note, and this is a matter that was spoken about at the briefing with the officials there today, the matter of the South African soldiers whose remains are understood to be repatriated or being repatriated from the DRC. But the question has to do with the militaries, the Guard of Honor, their participation in the State of the Nation address. Earlier, the Speaker saying that it will be the SANDF that determines as to at what scale will the military participate. Do we know, as we sit tonight, just how involved the SANDF is going to be?
Well, Polly, good evening to you, as well as the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Indeed, this matter was clarified by the presiding officers of Parliament, the Speaker and the Chairperson today, and indicating that during State of the Nation address, the issue of the honors that are being done in terms of the full parade of the military is really the focus of the day in terms of the decisions of the military, guided by its own protocol, and how they handle a full military service in terms of SONA. So those decisions are being taken care of at the level of the military, and ours is to respect the processes that they would follow, mindful of that have been unfolding in the DRC.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the not so good news, Mr. Secretary, because today, the 5th of February, it marks the 9th anniversary of the Lily mine disaster. That's when 3 mine workers who were in a container, that container sunk into the belly of the earth. And today, it marks exactly 9 years since the sinking of that container. And I'm bringing this up because the leader of Action SA, Herman Mashaba, says he has written a letter to the Speaker, among other officials, requesting that he be allowed to retrieve that container at his own cost. Does Parliament have that letter in your possession?
I'm not aware of the letter at this point, Toli. Seeing that we are quite busy in preparation for SONA, I may not be aware whether in any of our registry there's any of such a letter that has landed to Parliament. At this point, I'm definitely not aware.
All right, let's get then on to the business of tomorrow, and that is the State of the Nation address. Assurances were made today that it's all systems go. Can I start with the theme for this year? Remind us what that is and why the choice of that kind of language being employed.
Well, Oli, the theme for this year is consistent with our standing as South Africa, given that from the 1st of December last year, as you may know, South Africa assumed the role of presidency of the G20 from December last year. And the theme that has been outlined for G20 focuses on the issue of inclusive growth, equality, as well as ensuring sustainable development. So our theme is anchored around that, because also us as Parliament, we equally assume the role of P20 from the leadership point of view. So our Parliament will be playing that role this year in terms of ensuring that discussions that take place within parliaments reinforce the work that has been outlined in the thematic focus areas that the heads of states will be focusing on in terms of showcasing what our country's capabilities are, what's the context of the perspectives of Africa, its views and concerns around global development issues, but also entrenching our key commitments to the prescripts of multilateralism, which our country is very proud of. So that theme is guided by that.
The understanding is that this year, our parliamentarians are also going to be interacting with members of parliament from other parts of the world. Is this, again, part of this G20 theme?
Correctly so. It's part of it. Our parliament will be hosting a P20 summit, a summit of the 20 parliaments of those countries under G20. And we will be hosting that as Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. So there will be parliamentarians from different countries, which our presiding officers will be hosting in terms of reflections around this theme, and also showcasing the best of what our country is capable of, what opportunities are there for investment, but also canvas perspectives as Africans on how we can position our continent in the global stage.
Let's talk about the dignitaries, Secretary, that are confirmed to attend the SONA this year. I understand that the number of former presidents are going to be in attendance. Who are they, and any other names that will be of interest to members of the public?
It's a standard protocol, Toli, that every hosting of the State of the Nation address, Parliament will invite former heads of states of South Africa. It will also invite former presiding officers of Parliament. It will also invite other eminent persons that normally come to those events. Indeed, a number of those that have been invited will be coming, and others are as yet to confirm, because as you know, every hour, every moment, we'll be getting those confirmation right up until tomorrow. But indeed, there will be former heads of states that will come tomorrow.
A final question, and it's one that, you know, it would, under normal circumstances, be what is expected of the pomp and ceremony that comes with the opening of Parliament. The chairperson of the National Council of Provinces saying that, and I quote, "This year's SONA is an opportunity to promote South African fashion, and members of Parliament have been called upon to wear locally made outfits to showcase the skills of local designers." While that is absolutely encouraged, because the president almost makes a point of saying this, that the suits he wears to the State of the Nation are made in South Africa. The tone, though, Secretary, for this year's Parliament, given the tragedy that has befallen the country, our 14 soldiers, what do you think the tone should be, given what we are essentially doing, which is we are a country in mourning?
Yes, Toli, there's been reflections around that question, and it was also through the presiding officer's statement that they've issued out. The matter that has happened in our country that befell our military in a peacekeeping mission in DRC is indeed something that is concerning to Parliament, and they will be able to guide on how that matter will be dealt with tomorrow during the proceedings of SONA. But it is indeed a tragedy that has befallen us, and all of us, we feel for the families of those that have lost their lives in service of our country. And indeed, it's a matter that Parliament is taking very seriously and is reflecting on.
Yeah. As we conclude the conversation, I'd like to stay with the DRC matter, Mr. Secretary. On the side of the screen, we are running breaking news about renewed fighting that has begun in the DRC. And today, the Speaker was among the officials who reiterated the point that the remains of the soldiers are being brought back home today. Does Parliament have any update at this stage as to whether or not the remains of the fallen soldiers are indeed on South African soil tonight?
Not at this stage, Oli, we are not aware of the details pertaining to that. Safe to say, yes, like any.
We do apologize for that break in transmission. Mr. George, unable to conclude that particular thought, and I was really desperate for all of us to hear whether or not Parliament has indeed received any sort of confirmation about the repatriation of the soldiers. But I think the start of that response does make it clear that Parliament is not yet clear as to what the finality is around this matter, at least for now.